Alrighty, so YBA updated maybe 2 hours before this review. Well, it won't be coming out, but at least by the time I'm recording this audio, and with it, they released Anubis, which is probably the coolest stand we've gotten in a long time. And that's something I didn't at all expect from what is probably one of the most boring stands in JoJo. And I know some of you are gonna tell me that there are more boring stands. But come on, how many of you expected Anubis to be this goddamn cool? Seriously, hats off to Reborn Nova for his work in the animations on this stand, because they are incredible. I might still be a little bit pissed off at him because he killed me with a mod spec while I was trying to get footage for this. Alright, I think I'm gonna get him here. Oh, never mind. Oh, okay, never mind. Alright, that's fine. I still got a decent amount of... What was that? No! Are you kidding me? What? How am I gonna die? No, I swear to God. I swear to... No. Fucking stupid mod spec. But outside of that, he did a bang-up job. And the effects on this stand are definitely akin to those of mod specs. And that's something I never really expected to see on normal stands that basically anybody can get. But most of you don't really care about the looks of the stand, you're asking how it plays. And I guess I'll spoil it right out of the way right now if I haven't already with the thumbnail, but Anubis is pretty damn good. This stand has B&B combos, which is something that we really don't ever see with YBA. So that in of itself, you know it's going to be at least a little bit good. But we don't want to spoil everything right out the gate, right? So without further ado, let's jump into the moveset and I'll show you what Anubis can do. Welcome to the first moveset section where we start on the skill tree, and that's because of this right here. Supernatural Swordplay allows you to play the game like it was the M1 update, where you could stun people with your M1s. It literally does exactly that. For those who weren't around, it basically means that all 4 of your M1s combo. The 5th one should, but just like in the M1 update, it doesn't. Why? I have no idea. But just know that if you're going for damage and you want to get the knockdown hit, people can block a lot of the time. The other thing to note is that unlike other non-humanoid stands, Anubis has both a stand barrage and a stand barrage finisher. The stand barrage being able to act like any other stand barrage, which lets you use it while you're being stunned. This means that going up against a barrage stand doesn't automatically mean you die, so that's nice. As for actual moves, we'll be starting off with your counter, Curse Blade. Curse Blade acts like pretty much all of the other counters in the game. You use it, if you get hit, then the enemy gets hit for hitting you. And thankfully in this update, they made the counters not come out on frame 1, this one included, meaning you can't just mash it out of stun and instantly combo the enemy for comboing them, and it's a lot easier to bait the counters. This counter is the same way. It does do a good chunk of damage though, so it's not like it's just terrible. Next up is After Image, which when used near an opponent makes you go invisible, shows a bunch of yourself circling your opponent, and makes you go very fast for a short duration. I don't have too much to say about this one, I'll talk about it in strategies, but it's not great. Enraged Fury is basically the world's kick barrage, but actually good. It is a very short windup, which if you're hit during will cancel, as well as can be parried, but once it hits, it'll do a flurry of hits with a block-breaking knockdown at the end of it, that actually true combos, unlike the world's. Please make the world's kick barrage better, thank you. God of Death is a self-buffing move that after a short animation makes it so that your sword can proc poison with any of its hits. It also has a side passive if you upgrade it that makes it so that if you get knocked down by things that remove your stand while it's active, it basically can't be removed. In other words, it's Scary Monster's passive while your buff is active. And your last move, Curse Imbued Slice, is absolutely terrible. It's basically a barrage finisher without everything that makes a barrage finisher good. If you get hit at all during the animation, it automatically cancels, it can't break any blocks, and if you land it, it knocks them down. So in other words, it's just not very good. So with all that being said, I'm gonna show my skill tree, and then after we're done with that, I'll get on to the strategies section. One little note about the skill tree is that it's not super great. I would say that you probably don't need any upgrades into the After Image because that move is not very good, but outside of that, the skill tree is not bad. So once again, going against the norms, today we'll be starting with B&B combos, something I never thought I'd be talking about on YBA. The thing to note about the M1s is that despite the fact that you have 4 of them, your best way of comboing is only if you land 3. The way the M1s work in this game is that your 4th M1 has more end lag than your 3rd M1 does. I assume this is the same reason why your 5th M1 doesn't combo correctly, but what it does mean is that you can combo a whole lot more if you do 3 M1s instead of 4. Your main BMB, regardless of spec, is 3 M1s, a combo extender, 3 more M1s, and then an Enraged Fury. Now mind you, I'm almost certain you can't do this with Boxing's Eye Gouge, but I'm sure you can with Steel Balls as well as Zoom Punch, so if you're using Spin or Haman, you're in good shape. I'm also assuming that Pluck doesn't have enough stun for this, but I could be wrong. Outside of this, none of your other moves combo into this B&B, so don't bother trying. You'll just get blocked. The counter for Anubis is an interesting take because, well, I can't really seem to land it almost ever because of how long the startup is, and I think this is fine. This is probably the way counters should be enabled, but you can get it off of obvious projectiles just like normal, and technically you can also get it out of hit stun if you're mashing, but a lot of the time people will just ragdoll you or hit you with something that you can't counter, and then you'll just get screwed. And because of how much end lag you have if you screw up and miss a counter, I almost don't even go near the key while I'm playing. This is all compounded by the fact that the counter cooldown is an absolute eternity, and I'm not entirely sure why they made it so long, but it takes forever. This is something that applies to a lot of Anubis' moves. Their cooldowns take forever, but this is strategy, is not the conclusion, so we'll get there. Your after images is another interesting case because this is another move that I can't really find the practical use for. Because you can't use it to escape stuns, thank God, using it to escape combos isn't a super great option. It's also not an awful option because it acts kind of like Made in Heaven's dash. Since you move so fast, as long as you mash this in between someone's move, you can kind of bail yourself out. But really, the most helpful application I've found with it is definitely chasing down people that are running away. If you're right on someone's tail and they're dipping, you can use this to catch up to them right away and start comboing them. It's very difficult to control at times since you can't see your character, but if you get the hang of it, I'm sure it will be very, very powerful. I also am fairly certain that you're not invincible during this move. I'm almost completely certain. And assuming that is the case, I think they should make it so you are. But again, conclusion stuff. I'm getting ahead of myself. As for your Curse Imbued Slice, like I said in the Moveset section, this move is kind of just awful, and I almost don't know at all when to use it, or if you should use it. I have absolutely zero clue why this move gets canceled if you get hit. It feels like one of those moves that you definitely should not be able to get canceled unless you get knocked down, but that's not how it works. If someone just M1s you, it gets canceled automatically. It could be a really good combo breaker, but it's not. It's basically just completely useless. And it takes so long to come out that you can't combo it out of your M1s, and it's not like you can do this while your Enraged Fury is on cooldown, so it's just kind of bad. One other thing that I just realized I forgot is it also has a decent amount of end lag, so if they block it, you're gonna get punished. Just don't go near this move, it's not very good. Your Enraged Fury and God of Death moves are really where you're getting all the damage, and these two moves carry you to the point where you really don't need any of the other moves in your kit. I guess that explains why they're so terrible. God of Death's poison, making it so that every single one of your attacks has a chance of proccing a poison that they can't get rid of, is incredibly good. And because of how short the cooldown is, since the cooldown starts as soon as you use the move, you should have this active as often as you can, because the more it's active, the higher likelihood that you're going to get more damage off of your hits. And Enraged Fury is just an absolute monster of a move. It's so good. Like I said, it's a nearly unreactable the world kick barrage that has a finisher on the end of it that you can't avoid. So in other words, it's basically Starplat in the World's fully upgraded kick barrage that you get without having to fully upgrade kick barrage. That on top of the fact that it combos with your M1s and other moves, it's just really good. At the end of the day, hands down the most damage you're going to be getting is based off of your M1s, your spec moves, and your Enraged Fury. They made the right play by making it so that your M1s do low damage, just like, well, all the other stands should do and have stun, but after this, I'm assuming they just never will, which kind of makes me sad, but oh well, is the way it is. But as long as you're landing your M1s and getting your combos, this stand can kick some serious ass. Now that I've talked about pretty much all I can in the strategies section, let's jump into the conclusion and I'll talk about how I feel about the stand and the future of the meta when it comes to this. Overall, I don't think Anubis is going to be anything meta-shattering. I think it's definitely going to have a whole lot of people saying that it's broken and overpowered, as people always do when things are new, considering that everyone's using it. But from what I've used, it seems pretty tame. I can bet you in double digits that there's going to be a lot of videos coming out saying that it's broken and the most overpowered thing in the game. And so what I would tell you is you probably should not be listening to those people, because until things have really settled down or someone discovers something absolutely ludicrously broken about it, I don't really think it's going to be that huge of a problem. The biggest thing holding back Anubis is that its hitboxes are incredibly inconsistent, and it makes your combos, well, just that, incredibly inconsistent. Despite the fact that you have a long-ass sword, your M1s are just not very long range. It feels almost like they should have Beach Boys range of M1s, which also isn't as good as it probably should be, but they don't. So a lot of the time you'll land maybe 1 or 2 M1s in a close succession, and then the third or fourth one will just whiff for no reason, and then you'll throw out your combo extender assuming that your moves landed, and then they didn't land, and then you get punished for having your combo extender blocked. I don't know, it's just a mess. Basically, it has all the same problems that the M1 update had back when that was around, which I guess isn't all that surprising considering that that's exactly what this is, but it is kind of disappointing. I also think the other thing to consider is that because of how many of your hitboxes are just one-player oriented, I don't think this is going to take hold in the 2v2s or SBR or main game meta per se, and it tends to be that stands that really just can't shine in those modes get forgotten about, so I have a feeling that this stand will be forgotten about by a lot of the player base fairly quickly, because even though it has really cool effects, it's not going to be that great in those scenarios, and at the end of the day, it's another stand that doesn't have TS resist, so it's going to get absolutely obliterated by Star Platinum the World and the World Over Heaven, as does every other stand that doesn't have TS resist. I'm sounding really negative here, but I honestly do really enjoy the stand. I think from what I've played, it seems like it's going to be in a pretty good spot, but hey, only time will tell. The effects are really, really cool, and it feels really cool to use it. And so I think that's what they were going for, and if that's what they were going for, job well done, because it does feel very cool to use it. I think the biggest takeaway from this update, though, is that if this is the new standard for how things are going in the future, then I'm really excited for the future. We haven't gotten a bog standard arrow stand in quite a while, and then they finally released one, and it's a banger. It feels like it's on the quality of Requiem and the Over Heaven stands, and it's not one of those. It's just a regular stand. So I'm really excited for the future, and I haven't had this much faith in the developer team in quite a while. Hopefully they don't make me eat my words, but I'm very impressed, and I've only seen one major bug so far, which I guess seeing one major bug this early isn't a great sign, but there's something with after images where your character model goes invisible. It's kind of annoying, but I get the feeling it'll get patched pretty quickly, and it's not exactly game breaking as some of your characters still usually shows, so I don't think it's going to be easy to abuse. But with all that being said, I think I'm just about wrapping up, so have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.